Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Passion Within. We've got a special guest today. We've got Connor McLean with us, the Terp Wizard. And you also have an organic farm. You're over in Michigan. I actually thought you were in Washington State for some crazy reason. But Connor, thank you very much, brother, for coming on and sharing your passion about growing, about extractions, etc. I know our audience is going to be amazed with the knowledge and the passion you have for what you do. We're going to get into that in a lot more detail. But Connor, maybe you want to start off with just giving our audience a little bit more knowledge of who you are and your farm, please.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ken.
You're welcome.
So I've got a farm in, well, we call it a homestead farm. It's kind of an interchangeable term, I suppose, but in Southwest Michigan, in a zone called the Fruit Belt, and I grow indoors and out, primarily focusing on hash production. But we also grow veggies, have some chickens, have bees, make ganja seeds every year outdoors. And yeah, it's just like a brief rundown, I guess, of what we do.
Well, that's fantastic. I know the first time that we really met was on the Future Cannabis Project when you were on with Leighton Morrison and you were on talking about the bees. And I'm a bee enthusiast myself, so I jumped on because I just love talking about bees. And how are your bees doing, by the way?
They seem to be going good this year. I'm hoping we don't have to get a whole new colony for every hive. You know, we kind of struggled during the wintertime. I don't know if I've quite totally figured it out. Some years are better than others. It seems like this year's been a little bit more of a easy winter. We haven't been getting a ton of snow. We got hit pretty hard on Thanksgiving and a little bit on Christmas. But other than that, it's been kind of light. So I'm hoping that the bees pull through easy this year, and I don't have to completely start over fresh. It definitely is easier if they're already there in the springtime and not having to start completely over again every single year.
Yeah, definitely. It's easier to have your hives survive and not need to worry about repopulating in the spring. It's always easier to give away excess bees than it is to have new bees. But
Yeah.
I know you've talked in your bio that you have some by your garden. You have some in your trees. Which do you think is a better location, or have you seen a difference in the location and the survivability of your bees?
Um. So this was the first year that we did them out in the woods and in
Okay.
the more open part of our yard. Um, so I don't necessarily have a comparison totally yet because I haven't seen the full
Yeah.
cycle of it. But based on how they were producing and how much honey I pulled out of the hives this year, I'd say that the yard is a little bit better. Um, couldn't exactly tell you why yet. I think I need a couple more years to dial that in, but that's what I'm seeing so far. You know, ultimately the test will be is which ones make it through the winter. That will be the true test. Honey production is kind of just like a little bonus for us. You know, I like having them around and them pollinating, and you know, we get more than enough honey off of one hive. You know, we have six active ones. You know, this last season we might bump it up to eight. We have enough hives to do that, but just haven't done eight in a couple years now.
Oh, that's fantastic. I know the more that you have, the better off you always are. But let's look at something else. Where have as I said, I thought you had actually been over in Washington State. How long have you been at this property in Michigan? You know, you're saying it's a newer homestead. So how are you doing? How did you get there, Matt?
That's a little bit of a story. I can kind of just
Please.
sum it up with so I was trying to I was working with some folks trying to go into the legal metric side in Michigan, like pushing past a caregiver and a home grow. And we had our bees out there, and decided to take a turn and not go do that. So that's how we kind of ended up at this homestead. Trying to maybe think past what retirement or after going into that would look like, and kind of just skipped all that and went straight to where we wanted to be. And so we moved in here almost 2 years ago, around 2 years. And the bees were one of the first things we brought over. I think we built a compost pile and put the plants outdoors, and the bees were here before we even moved a piece of furniture over. So, you can see what our priorities were.
Honey, baby, I want that sweet.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic. So I know in your bio you'd mentioned Hügelkultur. So you said bees and compost. So was your first compost a Hügelkultur?
No, we had some what are they called? The boards that they ship things on. I'm drawing a blank what they're called.
Pellets?
Yes, exactly. So we made like bays out of pallets and did like a 3-part bay to kind of go as like it filled. We'd go the next one, and by the time the third one was filled, the first one would be done. And between the ganja garden and our kitchen scraps and stuff, we were like yard clippings and leaves, we had to extend it to 5 bays. And yeah, it's been great. We produce a fair amount of compost out here. Now that we have the chickens too, it's really starting to load up, and it's nice to not have to buy that. Compost can be pretty expensive.
Oh yeah.
If you're not producing yourself, and that's kind of part of it, right? Is returning things back, closing the loop, is putting things back that you grew in the soil and bringing more health and vitality to your land.
Well, I know that you are DEM Pure certified now. I know that that's a fantastic certification, and if people want to buy vegetables, I would suggest if there's somebody doing DEM Pure in your area, that you reach out to that particular farm, because it is a closed loop and it's all organic and truly organic in the way the organic was supposed to be. But tell us a little bit about that certification. I know it's not easy to get, and I know I need to get Dragonfly Earth Medicine, Josh and Kelly, onto the show to talk more about it. But if you could give us a little bit of an idea, the difference between like organic and a DEM Pure certification.
Yeah, so you could be, I guess, an organic farm and a DEM farm. We haven't quite got there yet with the USDA in our area. We've been talking to them and trying to get our vegetables approved, but the DEM Pure certification kind of goes a little bit beyond what the organic certification is by the USDA. Like, there's a couple things that that they would allow that the DEM Pure certification wouldn't. Like, they're more focused on using what is available around you from the land to build up your soil and not using any synthetics. So the whole idea of closing loops, like taking things that are from your area and putting it back in your soil, like collecting the leaves and using that as mulch, or using what's another one? All the kitchen scraps that you get from our garden, returning that back. Or there's a few other things, creating your own cover crop. And yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not doing the best job describing the difference, but just to give some examples of what it is.
Well, and that's great, because I know anybody that really wants to look at it, they can actually reach out to Dragonfly Earth Medicine and get a lot more detail. I know Josh and Kelly are wondrous people, and they love to help everybody. That's why I know I'm going to be getting them on. I just have to reach out again. But I know that that level of commitment that you have for, what you're doing is really next level. And a lot of people don't understand just how much they have on their property that they can put back into their soils. Now, you said you started out with the compost, let's call it bins, large scale bins, and you went from 3 to 5, and now you're doing Hügelkultur. So are you still doing the containers, or are you just using straight Hügelkultur now?
So we mainly have Hügelkulturs for all the ganja that we grow, and even some of the vegetables. But I have went from going in the ground and doing it that way to actually mounding it up on top because of Elaine Ingham. I ended up taking her class this time last year and was learning about how you can kind of shred the biology by going in the ground. You already have a lot of pre-established things going good for you there. So instead of, you know, ruining what was already there, I decided to just build on top and try to add more instead of like go back. Because, we've had great results going in the ground. Don't get me wrong. I just wanted
Yeah.
to try moving forward to go above. So this year we built a 50-foot long Hugel by 12 feet, so 600 square feet, and we're gonna put it in a Gothic style hoop and try to build a greenhouse for my 30th birthday coming up here soon and growing that this year.
Congratulations on making it to 30. I know
Yeah.
it's some in today's society, sometimes that 30 is pretty good. But
Yeah.
so you're going to go with a Gothic style arch greenhouse, and you've already got some greenhouses, I believe. Why the Gothic instead of like something else? Is there a specific reason that you're going with the Gothic, or is it just that's what you feel like doing? Oh, and by the way, Silly Lily says happy birthday, and I'll say happy birthday as well. I'm not gonna sing because you don't want to listen to me sing.
I got a few months anyways. We can wait. I'll reach out to you on birthday when it comes up
Okay.
and see if I can get that from you then. But to answer your question about the Gothic style, I talked to a couple farmers in the DEM community out here in Michigan, and
Right.
Swampy Acres, Josh, who lives in the UP, probably about as far north almost as you can go, was still being in Michigan. He lives about 7 hours away from me. He recommended it, and their season's a little bit shorter, and he was saying how it could help if we get some early snow or whatnot, if you don't want to take off the plastic, that it could potentially just roll off the sides. We have a geodome out here, and unfortunately that got hit with some hard snow and then melted and turned into some, got some rain afterwards, and that collapsed. So I learned from the first structure we put up here that, I kind of got to think a little bit smarter about that and make sure I'm creating a pathway for that to go. And so this springtime, I'm hoping to rebuild that geodome, but using metal instead of the plastic kit that it came with.
Yeah, taking it up to the next level of strength. A lot of people don't think about snow load. Like myself being in Canada, of course, we deal with a lot of snow, and in Michigan, you're getting that lake effect snow, which all of a sudden you can go from, you're only going to get a couple of inches, and all of a sudden it's 2 feet,
Yeah.
And wet, heavy snow.
Exactly. Yeah, we got that right around Christmas too, and the already partially collapsed geodome is now fully smushed. It's now a piece of trash in my yard, unfortunately. So I gotta rip all that out and restart. And I got a bending kit from Johnny's Seeds to make the Gothic style, and I'm wondering if I can use that to kind of create the archways for the new geodome. We'll see. I've got a couple ideas of how to revamp that and make it come back to life.
And like Ecological Project is saying, it sounds a lot like the Third Eye Tigers Thunderdome. And maybe, like he's saying, maybe it would be cool to collaborate with with him on what he's doing, because I understand he's got quite the system, and that might be something you want to look into in the future. And he wants to create it so you can do events and bring, like, I know you're a lot about community, and so is he, and having what he's got, that might be something that you guys can look at together. But with that being said, with the Gothic arch, are you going to be building it yourself? Or are you buying a kit? I know I've seen videos where they teach you how to actually build it yourself, set up the frames and build the frames and laminate them together. Are you going that way? Or are you going to be picking up a kit?
So we got the bending tool. So we're going to build the whole thing and go from scratch to a 60-foot long hoop. I my first hoop was a kit from Farmers Friends, and that was a pretty affordable one. There's a couple things I didn't necessarily like about it. I wanted something maybe with roll-up sides and like a nice doorway where you can mod it to do that, but it's not necessarily all comes in one. Where the new one we're building, Johnny Seeds, where we got the bending tool from, has a layout and a nice Excel sheet so you can see what tools you need in order to build the size you want, and then has instructions to lay it out, either a movable one or a stationary. And we're going to have roll-up sides, double door, and then a scissor door on the other end. So it's going to allow a lot of nice airflow to come in when we need it. And if we didn't have a raised Hügel, it would be big enough to get a smaller mid-sized tractor in there. So, but we don't have any tools like that at the moment. We have like a little mower that's a John Deere with like a cart on the back, but it's all been done by hand at this point, or getting the truck out there to unload some compost or some logs from the woods. But hoping at some point we can get some upgrades. But for now, we're doing it all the hard way, which is even a little more rewarding.
Well, yeah, because you got to consider, you need that exercise as well. And I've always found that when you do it with your own hands, it means more than just buying something that's there. But that's I really enjoy that you're going to be doing it yourself, because it gives you that sense of satisfaction. Now, I know some people that are doing composting, they're actually allowing their chickens in with the compost, especially in the winter. And if they built the dome, then the chickens can live in there in the wintertime, and you don't lose egg production in the cold. And with the Hügelkultur, they're just going to scratch it and add their biology into it. Have you considered doing something like that yet?
So where our chickens are at and where our compost is a little bit far away, they're still figuring out the yard and figuring out where they can go, because our dogs have a invisible fence, so they're able to go in a certain perimeter around our house, and the chickens can go out farther than they can, and they haven't quite made it to the compost, but they can freely go in our veggie garden. They can freely go near the geodome. Not that I'd really want them in there at that point, but hopefully when it's rebuilt, they can go in and hang out.
Yeah.
And then they're not too far from the new Hügel, but I haven't seen them hang out there yet. And I think I'm going to try to influence them more pre and post season coming up, to allow them to, tear things up and move things around. Just when I start to get cover crop in there, I don't really want them eating the seed at this point. And then also don't really want them messing around with the ganja plants, because we'll cull stuff from the compost pile or from the field when we bring seeds out there, and I'll feed them the males, and they're pretty happy about that. So I'm sure they would also love to just tear up some females if given the opportunity.
Yeah, I know. I knew somebody that had a strawberry farm, and they actually used geese to eat the weeds, except for pigweed. The geese didn't like the pigweed, but then once the strawberries started turning, they had to get the geese out or else they eat the strawberries. So yeah, there's that point of, you want them there to help you, but you don't want them there to hurt you as well. So that's wonderful. But I know some people even heat their greenhouses with their compost piles. I've seen one crazy guy. He was actually heating his hot water for his shower with a compost pile that he built outside his house. But I don't know if you're that crazy or not. But you can do it so many amazing things with a compost pile. Like I never had a clue, but um, where are you getting your research and where do you think you are now with what you're attempting to do? You obviously have a plan. Where are you now within that plan, do you think?
We're still only this will be our second full season out here. When we moved, it was I think we got the property in June or July of 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we got like half a season in. I got to put my ganja plants out and do a seed run and get the bees out here and do that. And then this last year was fun because I, had springtime to finally put in the fruit trees I wanted to and get those going. Like I knew the second I had a springtime, I was going to get all the stuff that takes a long time to get in first and try to think about the sizing of things. And I hope I planned ahead enough. We'll see in years to come. But, I think there's a lot of stuff still to be learned, but I tried to look at it almost like schools of thought. When I switched years ago from growing with synthetic nutrients and starting to go into soil and use teas instead of a bottled nutrients. I started off with Jadam because it seemed to be the easiest for me to grasp. And there was a book that I could read and reference of how to do this, where I wasn't as easily finding Korean natural farming resources like that. Later on, I found like the Hawaii book where they have all the,
Dr. Drake.
per se, and then found Chris Trump's channel, and then a couple smaller publication books on, collecting IMO and making OHN and FPJ and FFJ and all those other fun abbreviations. And then, started to learn about people who took Elaine Ingham's class and starting to learn about building compost and how they were doing that. And, I kind of am doing a soup style where I really like building compost. That's a really great tool. So we're going really heavy on compost now, and then using some of the other implements a little less than we had before. So I love the JMS, the Jadam microbial solution.
Yeah.
And then, inoculating my soil with that in the springtime and then again in the fall, and just kind of getting a nice rejuvenation in the soil with some good microorganisms. And then using the Korean natural farming maintenance spray in veg. And then again, at, the end of the season, once things are down, just kind of spraying some more fun foods for the microorganisms. And just kind of trying to go simpler. Compost teas, compost extracts, not really rely too heavy on making a brew every week. Just trying to put what I need there. Maybe the first or second year of the brand new Hügel go more heavier, and then as we go, hopefully we're stacking enough stuff on top that as it breaks down, we can go less and less and just go more simple and allow the plants to take in the stuff that we put in there that we banked for them to, uptake and create some beautiful medicine. And that's kind of where we're at with all that.
Well, and that's brilliant because, I know you follow Leighton and how he, talks about, adding teas and extracts, etc. And you're either going to be feeding the biology or you're going to be adding to the biology. So I think you're doing a brilliant methodology using a combination of everything that you have learned. Have you ran across the Johnson Sioux bioreactor yet?
Yeah, I have. I learned about that at Camp Compost. I think,
I
you
was
know,
gonna ask if you've been got hooked up with Alexa and Chandler yet. Yeah.
yeah, we've made it to all of them so far. Unfortunately, me and my fiance won't be able to make it there this year. Our wedding date falls on the weekend that it's at, so we'll be
Congratulations.
thanks. Yeah, we'll be getting married then. We're kind of bummed we won't be able to make it, but that's an important day in our life, and we'll get
Yeah.
to maybe celebrate our anniversary every year going there because it seems to fall on the same weekend. So looking forward to that. Yeah, it's a great event. I've always taken something new from there, if not a bunch of things. Like they had a great demonstration on chickens, and we had just we had gotten them a couple months before, and then
Hmm. Hmm.
Sean Rising Moon had talked about how he uses them and does like I think he calls it what's forest chickens or something. He allows his chickens to hang out in the forest and kind of naturally hang out there. And he gave me some great tips on how to use our leaves that we have an abundance here, and we lined our chicken run with that and allow them to pick through. And then come springtime, we're going to collect that all up and then fresh mulch on top of our Hügelkultur. So kind of using them to break things down a little quicker, add more biology, and add a little bit you know um, texture to their run because they're going to pull out all the grass and make like kind of like a mud pit out there, and it's like the leaves kind of help create some texture, so it's not just a big nasty mud pit for them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Silly Lily is mentioning that I've got a new show called The Soil Masters, starting actually this Friday with Leighton Morrison and Dr. Av Singh. She's looking forward to it. It's going to be an amazing show because those are two highly intelligent men on soil and soil health. But um, I know that Alexa and Chandler um, are just amazing people with Camp Compost. Are you looking at maybe having something like that on your 10 acres where you can have people come out and, of course, not on the same weekend, but teaching classes like that? Because I know you're so passionate about this and your extraction. I know you do extraction classes, but are you going to look at doing some classes in that atmosphere where you're teaching people the Hugo culture and things like that?
um Maybe not here. I'm hesitant to bring people over here because the all the stuff I got going on, and this
True.
is
Yeah.
this is our home and where we plan on having a family one day. So I'm trying to treat this a little more sacred than my
Yeah.
previous spots. But we're working on putting together some events this year that are kind of combining a few of um, my background. So I've got a culinary background and now farming and ganja and hash. So trying to make an event like that and maybe have some opportunities to teach out there. It will be on someone's farm, so that would be probably the opportunity that if I'm going to do that, do it out there and then build up her farm and help her with all this free labor, people who are
Yeah.
willing to do it. And then, as we do more events, she gets more, more cool spaces to grow or different styles of, if she wanted to build a Johnson Sioux bioreactor, maybe we could throw one together that weekend but that event is still taking shape. It sounds like we're shooting for May and June in Jackson on Gracie from Yellow Moon Yurts property. So
Oh, fantastic.
as that kind of shapes up a little more, I'll announce some more things. But yeah, I don't think I'm hesitant to bring people out here just because
Yeah. I
it's
understand that.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is, like you said, that is your sanctuary and you're going to have your family there. And there are some, let's say, wing nuts in the world, but have you thought about combining stuff with camp compost as well? And because like you could be a speaker with camp compost, and their speakers could come with you, and that's like, I know you're really into caring, sharing, and community, um, and I want to promote so much love for so many different people, and so I would really hope that you guys, being in the same state, could really help each other out. Um, but before I let you answer that, have you, are you into it so far? Like Alexa is, have you made a shampoo for your hair and your wife, your fiance's hair? Because I know she's shampooing her hair with compost now.
No, I haven't gotten to that level. I'm not as heady as she is. That's the next level. You've entered into a different realm when you're making body products with your compost. But that's pretty sick. No, funny enough, Chandler came out here the first weekend. We had our property and help us put together the first Hügel bed where I make all
Oh,
my
right
seeds.
on.
So, and Alexa has been awesome. She's, I needed someone with a microscope a couple years ago to take some videos of a trichome head in on a slide, and she drove 2 hours to meet me just to pick up material and didn't even know who I was. So they've been really great to me. I would love the opportunity to speak at Camp Compost if they wanted me to. They have plenty of brilliant people that could speak on things more articulate and have more experience than I do. But if they ever need me, I'm more than willing to come out there. I mean, this year I can't, but any other year I don't really have a good enough excuse why I couldn't come out. And I love going up to that area. I don't really have any too many reasons to go that far north usually. So it gives me a nice reason to go up there and see Michigan in a different light. 'Cause, the bottom part of the state is, we have some good woods, but once you get up that far, it starts changing and becomes more wild. And it's on a really cool property, and hopefully I get the opportunity to speak there one day. But like I said, they have plenty of people who can provide great information and stuff like that for people.
Well, yeah, they are wonderful people, and I know that they love to have a multitude of people come out and help. And I love how you were talking about your friend and her property, and helping her to improve her property with the labors of that you guys are able to provide. I think that is absolutely amazing, my friend, and kudos for that, because it's that caring and sharing that you possess and want to give to others. I'm sure you're giving away any excess honey that you have to your friends and family, and they're all going, oh yes, Christmas. Oh yes, I'll take some of that honey for Christmas.
Yeah, no, there's the problem is when we run out, right? Because then that's when everyone wants the most of it. Is when we don't have it. It's like, oh man, why didn't you reach out? In fall when we're getting and collecting all of it.
Yeah.
We haven't been that lucky to get that summer harvest that some people can get. We mainly just pull during the fall, get the one pull a year, and then try to divvy it out long enough where we have it for the whole year. We make sure we've learned from the first few years, like, keep enough where we're so good, and then excess goes out to friends and family as it gets closer.
Oh, right on, right on. Yeah, it's such a gift to you when you're able to give to others. At least that's what I have found in my own life. But so I know you're talking about moving up to 8 hives, and I think that'll improve the volume of honey that you've got to be able to share. But so where do you think you're going with your farm? Like, where are your dreams going to be taking you? You have such passion for this, and I know Lily, or Silly Lily, had a question earlier. What she asking, Connor, what fruit trees are you able to grow in your particular location? And I'm sure that's part of your dream.
Yeah, so the idea of us creating a homestead was to become more, less reliant on the system and more reliant, having a bigger food stock so that we can try to eat from our gardens year round. And as we build out and create more greenhouses, that will kind of allow us to extend our season and grow things longer. And, getting into preservation techniques too will help that. But yeah, just I guess I see the property becoming more abundant over the years, and trying to be smarter about where things are placed. And as our fertility grows up, keeps growing, I'm sure our yields will go up as well. And I don't, I'm hoping to get more involved with our local farmers market as well, and be able to provide unique varieties of fruits and vegetables to our area, because our farmers market's pretty good for our area. Like I've been lucky enough to live near a couple good ones. Like my dad, certain weekends growing up would take us up to the Milwaukee farmers market where he used to go to college, and that's a huge one. And then when I moved out of my house to go to college, I lived in Boulder, and they've got a nice little farmers market downtown. And then that was like one of the things I looked for when moving here, was like, oh, how's the farmers market? Because I really like going there and getting my food, getting it from the source. Like I think it's really cool to shop small and shop local and keep your money in your area, and then going to the source. So yeah, just trying to produce more. And the answer is silly lilies. Let me see if I can remember everything. So I'll just name off all the fruits we put in this year. We put in elderberries, blueberries, peaches, pears, apples, cherries, pawpaws, and I think golden raisins. I don't know how. I don't really know what that plant is. It kind of was just like a weird variety on this website that we had already were buying pawpaw trees from this lady in Detroit. So they're like, let's get this golden raisin plant and see what this like. Just throw it out there and see, because she's already growing a bunch of stuff that works in Detroit. And I was like, that's not too far off climate wise than us. Like I don't see why it wouldn't work on this side of the state. So I don't know why it's not called the golden grape, but beats me. We were lucky enough too to have a couple fruit plants already here on the property. Like we have some blackberries that are already established kind of randomly around. And then we have this wild grapevine. Down the street from us is a vineyard. And I think what happened is maybe some deer or something got in, maybe some birds, ate it, and then, planted some grapes near us, because we have this towering grapevine that's just wild. It has no real structure to it, which is why I'm thinking an animal planted it and not a human. And I figured out what type of grape it was. It's Concord, and we made jelly this year for the first time, and that jelly was so good. Anytime someone comes over and has breakfast and tries it, they're like, where can I get this? I'm like, you can't. Like, you gotta come over and pick the grapes and make it with me. Maybe you'll get lucky and I can give you a jar. But we made 2 large mason jars worth, and we're almost through it. And the harvest season is not close. So I gotta hoard that stuff back a little bit, I guess.
Well, yeah, and I love your description of how you got the grapes, and that's how a lot of seeds are transplanted in our environment, is by the birds and the bees and the coconut trees, But that's an amazing amount of different varieties that you're planting. So kudos, brother, because like not very many people would go to that extent in varieties. Most people, well, I'm going to have an apple orchard, or I'm going to have, X or Y or Z. So the multitude of varieties I'm just thinking in my head of, man, the jams that boy is going to be able to make.
Yeah.
I'm coming to your house for jam. Okay.
I'm hoping in about 5 years we'll be able to pump out some nice jams. We're on the search for a couple of fruit trees too that work in our area, trying to go in the more niche. I always mess this one up. My dad corrects me, but it's like I keep saying it's quince or maybe it's quince or something, a quince tree. I might be messing it up, but we're looking to get some of those. I had some jam from someone last year of that that we got shipped in, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I need to research this tree, and kind of like stored it in the back of my mind and on these like weird. So on my phone I have like 50 messenger things or 50 different websites open, and it's stored back there, and it's like I'll get to it at some point. And eventually I scroll through and it's like, oh shit, I think springtime we need to order a couple of those trees and see if we can get some more rare fruit varieties. Like the pawpaw, not a lot of people, I mean, Michigan and the Midwest people have had it, but outside, if you don't have a climate where that grows, most people haven't tried it because it's not really a shelf stable fruit. So we're hoping to make jam out of it, or freeze dry it, or make it into a dehydrated like fruit leather or something this year, so it's more shelf stable, so people at least get to try it and try to incorporate it into a few things and see what we can do there. With the honey this year, I tried making honey pearls or honey caviar using like molecular gastronomy to make these like orbs of honey. So now that I have that tool in my belt, I figured out basically you can kind of translate it to most fruits, and I'm going to try making some weird fruit caviar this coming year with the small amount of fruits we get.
Oh, well, that will be fantastic. You'll have to come back on and let me know how that goes, because there's so many different options that you're talking about that I've never really even heard about before. The one thing I have heard about is a lot of people are trying to create cannabis honey. Have you looked into that particular thing yet?
Yeah, so I haven't. There's a couple ways I've heard of people doing it. We've done one way where you infuse coconut oil and then whipping it in, and that's a very easy, basic one. And then I've heard of another method where people will take the flowers and let it do a long soak by window and like slowly let it incorporate. I don't really know how active the THC is in there. I guess the theory behind letting it long sit and kind of heating up by window would activate it in some sense, but I haven't gone that route yet. I'd like to give it a try when we have a great year for honey and I've got a ton, and just like letting some nice flower variety that I like, that maybe we'll have a pairing, like we're growing a couple honey banana hybrids. So that'd be a fun one to play with.
Honey, whoa. Honey banana? I mean, like, come on, are you serious?
We'll see if it lives up to the name. I've never grown the honey banana plant. I'm just growing hybrids of it that were hit with other male pollen. So I'm hoping to find something that has that honey profile that I'm used to, something floral and sweet, and then trying to pair it with honey. I think that'd be cool. And I've got a project in the works that I can't really speak too much about, but we're releasing infused honey sticks from my farm this year, and I won't go too much further than that, but that will be a fun one to show when it's all comes together.
Okay, so when you are allowed to talk about that in a little bit more detail, you've got to reach out to me, because I want to hear more about that, because I love honey for one. Like, you can't tell I have a little sweet tooth, but yeah, infused honey. I know there was some stuff in Europe that they were actually had their bees at the cannabis field, and it was the only pollen that the bees had access to, and it was actually producing infused honey right through the bee, and not through infusing it, putting the flower in. They were taking the pollen. So I know they were having some fantastic results with that. Um, but yeah, you've really piqued my curiosity, Connor. I think that would be fantastic. And before, while we're speaking of that, I know you are a seed breeder, and you are specific because you do extractions, and we haven't even really touched on the cannabis part. So maybe let's touch on that cannabis part a little bit. What are you seeing in the varieties that you're creating? Because I know you're doing it more for hash, for the production, for processing. What are you finding with the varieties that you are working with that you're having success with?
So I'm trying to make seeds that are that fall in the DEM Pure certification. So we're
Okay.
making seeds that are geared towards hash production for the
Hmm.
solventless extraction side, and then as well trying to pick stuff that works well outdoors.
Hmm.
So I have worked with two males so far. Each year we try to select a new one, and I think at some point I'm going to use all these years of building blocks and kind of go further in at some point. But for now, I kind of like the idea of, you know, not using the same male every year and just trying to, branch out more and more, and then some point bring them back together. And this year we took a variety from last year and then put it with this year's male. So it's slowly happening, but I only get one shot a year to do it. So it's kind of a slow process. But um if I'm selecting plants that are doing good in my soil one year, and then you just keep selecting and selecting, you're building plants that are already working well in your microclimate. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping as we keep going and going, we just find more stellar results. And we have some pressures towards the end of the season where we get a lot of rain and humidity. So I'm trying to select stuff that doesn't go too long or has structure that is geared towards, not being too
Susceptible to powdery mildew.
yeah, or botrytis. Like if you get some of
Yeah.
that stuff that's just like, really tight structure, if it's going long in the season, that can cause some issues. But if you get something with that structure and it can finish early, maybe it will work out here. I'm breeding, making seeds under with no cover on top too. So we're going full term outdoor, trying to find stuff that's like the most resilient.
Yeah.
And so far we've been finding some good stuff. I'm excited for testing the stuff we made this year, next year outdoors. We're making a couple selection indoors at the moment to do that with, and hoping that the stuff that worked well for us indoors plays well outdoors for us as well. But we'll just have to wait and see. I like I said, I only get one shot. I'm hoping to play with some depths this year and see if I can get 2, 3 if I'm really lucky and planning ahead, and if I got
Yeah.
that greenhouse on point. But we'll see. Two's enough for me. 3 would be a good year and well prepared.
Well, I know that there's a gentleman actually in my area, and he's got the sift on the Future Cannabis Project. And I was talking to him, and he's got some plants. They're almost like a lettuce plant because they can actually take up to, I think he said, -7
Wow.
and survive -7 and come back. So you might want to reach out to him and see, if you can coordinate a little bit of something like that, because that puts you a lot earlier in the season for the plants going out and a lot later in the season for the plants to finish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I said, what? Negative temperatures and your plants are surviving? Like, holy chitlins, boy, what the hell are you doing putting antifreeze into your plants? But
Yeah, he's
yeah,
making
like
some stellar stuff.
yeah, it's like I didn't believe it was possible, but he said, "Yeah, I can prove it to you because they're outside right now, and it's like -8." And yeah, Ron Harrington, thank you, silly Lily. Um, yeah, it's like wow, but you seem to be like dialed in, and I think that one of the keys is you're dialing in for your particular environment. And I know that's extremely important, especially for outdoor. Um, so where are your challenges in what you're doing? Is there ways that maybe the All About the Biology tour can help you, reach out to other people, or, like, where are your challenges moving forward from the point you're at right now?
Um, well, every season brings its own challenges, right? You never
Yeah.
know what's in store. So, you know, I think my personally my biggest challenge is getting all the things done I want to get done in a year. I'm trying to think of what else.
Well, maybe you're talking about maybe getting an event together. Maybe the tour can help promote that event for you. And I would do that just naturally, but maybe that's something if you're looking for speakers for your event, because I'm trying to put a large pool of speakers together. If you're having a little bit of difficulty with that, maybe the tour can help connect you with some people. Um, but for your farm itself, putting the event aside, where do you think your challenges are on for the not the cannabis side, but the farm side?
I guess it would be finding balance to make the time and also do all the things that I'd like to do with my life, between making sure the indoor garden's good, keeping up with production, um, building out the space how I want to. And then on top of that, still finding time to spend with my partner, and, make sure that I'm being a good partner myself, and, making time for her. And, that's been an interesting balance moving here and trying to take on all these projects and do all these things. I think as the farm progresses, there'll still be a lot of work, but if I work hard these first couple of years and set things up in a way, the fruit trees will eventually not need water like they do these first years. And if I'm taking care of them and making sure, they're getting a nice amount of compost at the end of the year, or like building a lot of, we've with our fruit trees, we didn't go in the ground. We went above and kind of built mounds around them to, kind of mimic a mulch layer. And then,
Yeah.
Setting up auto water. So it just, trying to figure out ways to make more time to spend with people, but also keep, it's hard, right? Because I like
Balance.
Yeah, I like being in the garden, but also I want to do other things with my time at certain points. So, but yeah, I'd say balance is the thing that's the hardest for me every year, and figuring it out. What is that balance? Not just yeah.
Well, and having a partner that isn't, or is in lockstep with you. Like, I know with my wife, it's not one person ahead of the other. It's side by side,
Yeah.
and moving each other forward in our dreams. And if that's one advice I can give to somebody that's going into the next level of relationship, is, work together and accept that they have their life and their dreams, you have your life and your dreams, and try to combine them together and move forward as that couple. And I think that is something that you are already doing. I can see your eyes light up and this big grin come on your face when you talk about her, and that is just wonderful. And I wish you guys all the best in that, because some days, brother, it can be like, I know I'm putting a lot of hours doing this program, and she gets a little, let's say she wants to smack me in the side of the head every once in a while. But I before I go get myself into too much trouble, okay, I know Silly Lily has a really important question that I know I should be asking. So I'm going to put her question up. What would your guest have to say to the young of today about the passion it takes to realize their dreams?
Man, that's a good question. I would say, don't go into things expecting it to work out and be, like if you're going in this with this grandiose idea that it's all going to work out every single time and that it's all going to happen at once, maybe reevaluate and try to look at the people who you aspire to be and think about how much time it took and maybe reach out to them and take the lessons that they learned and that could maybe help you avoid those, or at least be able to spot them and take them on and not have to learn it quite as hard as them. That's I'm sure down the line, 5-10 years, I'll be like, oh, I should have built out my garden this way, or put these trees here instead of that, or planted this early. I tried to do as much research and talk to as many people that I look up to as possible. And I was thankful, and I was, lucky enough to work with some really smart people. And like I've been out to Nick Risen's farm and seen how he set it up with his regenerative, Hügelkultur beds, and see what he's doing. And that was a huge influence on me on how we do our farming out here. And, just trying to take the lessons from your elders that they want to pass down, because I think for a lot of us that don't come from farming backgrounds like myself, you kind of got to relearn this stuff, like our ancestors knew a chunk of this stuff because that was their life. Like that's how you eat. My grandparents grew up on a ranch and a farm. It was just second nature. All their neighbors were ranchers and farmers. And, by the time I got into this, they were no longer around. So I had to learn it for myself, which it would have been great to hear from them. I got one of my grandmas always had a compost pile around. So I got to see that growing up, but they lived in a cul-de-sac, it wasn't like, I guess, I don't know where I'm going. It's long-winded what I'd tell the youth, but also believe in yourself. If you're going to put money on anyone, put it on yourself, because, you're going to work the hardest for yourself compared to a group. And part of me leaving that partnership was realizing that I should, instead of putting money on a group of people and expecting something, that I should just put all that money I was saving to go back on myself. Because I know that at the end of the day, if I fail, it's on me. I can't blame anyone, but if there's all these people involved, you put money in, then you can go blaming other people, but I think it's more healthier for yourself if you can, take it on the chin and be like, that was on me. I got to do some, I guess, self-exploring to get better.
Well, and realizing that you're responsible in investing back into yourself, I think is really important. And you're not quite 30 yet, brother, but you're talking like somebody in their 60s, because you've learned a lot of lessons, and thank you for that share, because that is really great advice, as Silly Lily is saying. It's that's great advice. I don't know, but in a lot of ways, like I'm a couple of days older than you, my friend, and let's just say I'm very proud of you and what you have accomplished, and you have a great perspective on life and where you're going. And I so appreciate your taking the time today to come and share your passion. It has been absolutely wonderful to have you on with us.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. I really appreciate having me on and what you're doing, and allowing people space on your show to talk about what they're doing and what they're passionate about, and opening up the dialogue for maybe someone new to learn something and maybe think about life in a different way.
Well, and I think that's a fantastic piece of advice you just gave, is open your mind to all the different possibilities and don't discount anything, because you've taken information from all over and learned from so many different people, and you're combining that all into your future, and it's your future that you are going to develop for yourself, for your children. And I think that is wonderful, and being able to come on here and give that perspective of your life, what you've done to others, is just, it touches my heart, because it's just so, I can feel the passion coming through you, and that silly grin on your face, is just magical, my friend. So thank you again so much for coming on. Do you have anything, any events or anything that you have coming up that we can share with the audience?
Yeah, so I've got a couple things coming up in February. Um, so the first weekend of February, I'll be at an event in Muskegon called Harem Swap Meet, and that's a hash-based event. I'll be there with a friend of mine that goes by Tommy Tricombe. He's been on the Future Cannabis Project, so we'll be
Okay.
there splitting the table. If you'd like to see some of the stuff that we're doing, we'll have some eggs and some seeds and some other fun stuff if you want to try some stuff on the processing side. And then the following weekend, I think it's the 11th and 12th. I might be off, but I know the 11th is one of the dates. I'll be out in Denver for an event called Coffee and Donuts. It's a class, and also now it's kind of evolved into more than a class, but an experience where they'll be doing tastings and pairings for hash. So we're providing some hash and some honey, and I don't want to give away too much, but we're creating a experience for folks to try something new that we haven't released before, and we'll be presenting it in a couple different ways, and then also the honey in a couple different ways, and then trying to make people think about how they're curing their rosin, and maybe rethink the ways that they're doing it. But that should be fun. And then those honey sticks I was talking about, when they come to fruition, will probably be available at that event in May and June. Look for some more info on this small little community event we're putting together. It's going to be a no entry fee, and just a highly suggested donation to a cause that we're choosing. So, trying to give back to the community in multiple ways, between us going farm to consumer, and then also, the consumers coming and giving to our small community, but all of us as a group giving back to another community. So
fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I've got coming up for now. And I think we're going to take it a little easy on events this year till the wedding is all paid for. Cause didn't realize how much of a hustle the wedding industry is until this year. It can be, or, depending on how far you want to go into that.
Us men have no real clue. We just go, yes, dear, whatever you want, dear.
Yeah. For them, there's a lot more built up for their whole life and a vision of it. Where for me, that's not my experience. I wasn't given Disney fairy tales telling me how that special day should be. So yeah, just trying to make it a special moment for her, and a cool event for our family too, right?
Yeah. And so, where, if people want to reach out to and follow you, I've put up your Instagram on the Terp Wizard, on the Plant Magic Homestead. Do you have a calendar on your website that you have for events? Where can people reach out to the Terp Wizard, if they have product that they want to have you process, because I know you process a lot of product for people, and you're absolutely phenomenal from everything that everybody's ever said to me about it.
Well, that's for the end person to judge, right? Every batch turns out different. It all is about the starting material. This year we've kind of stepped back a little bit on processing for people. We've been a little more our garden is scaling up. So as that has happened, I've been spending more time with what we're doing and releasing, single plant washes that are a lot smaller. So more variety, but maybe not as much volume. So we have a couple people we're working with again, but if you want to reach out and see, where we'll be at and what might be available coming up, yeah, check out our Instagrams. Terp Wizard is the main one. And then the next one for the DEM outdoor garden and our homestead is Plant Magic Homestead. And then, our website has the seeds that we currently have in stock, and we'll have a couple things available from our garden coming up here, hopefully later this year. We're working on some tea blends, and maybe some honey will be available on there, nothing infused, and then possibly some merch later this year. We'll see what's in the works.
Fantastic. And if you get some merch, brother, like I like hats, just saying.
Yeah. I don't know if you're a hoodie guy. I know it's a little bit colder up there. I could send you out a hoodie next time we do a run of, or we're trying to do seasonal designs too with different artists. So if there's one that resonates with you more than the next, just let me know and we'll make something happen.
Thank you. That would be fantastic. And yes, I do wear hoodies because yes, it does get a little, and I'm losing weight. So I found that the more weight I lose, the colder I get.
Congratulations on that. I know that's a struggle for anyone, and it's a whole lifestyle commitment. I've been trying to work on that too, getting in what we're calling wedding shape, and I've been trying to walk a marathon every week, and so far have been good for it this year. So we'll see if I can stay on track till September.
Oh, that's amazing. So for the audience, I'll let you guys know we've got 3 shows coming up tomorrow morning, or tomorrow. We at 8 a.m. Pacific, we've got Xenia. She is a hypnotherapist. She's going to be talking about that tomorrow morning. Then at 11 a.m. we've got Julian Scallion coming back on to talk more about what he's doing. And then we have the Barn Nature Summit from Maine coming on at 3 p.m. And then, of course, the Soil Masters or the Soil Matters at on Friday at 2 p.m. Only exclusively on It's All About the Biology's YouTube channel. So you might want to check that out. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's amazing to have our audience as well as Connor. Thank you so much, my friend. And we will talk soon. And everybody have a wonderful evening. And we will see you guys tomorrow.